just chuck it in. But when I say chuck, I don't chuck it in. I measure it out quite accurately, and only because if you're a couple of grams either side, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
You don't want to be much out of that because it then messes with it. You've got differences in air temperatures, moistness, this stuff that really don't like cold air. I've done it before, I've made that mistake. And mix the whole of this, throw it into some moulds, even though it was inside of a mould, open the windows to let the smell out. All the cold air came rushing in and it just collapsed the foam that was already in the mould before.
Yeah.
I chuck it all in together. No, it's good. It's not bad in here. But like the warmer the temperature, sometimes you might need to mess around with the amount of cure, for example, you put in. You might want to drop that because it's going to cure much quicker when it's warmer, and it gives you less chance to get it in your mould. And we don't need to worry about any of that right now. It's like we'll be using in plaster, but you need to put this on the surface. It's fresh plaster and it absorbs it very quickly. Get some of this on, whether you've got a brush or not, I don't know. Failing a brush, so you've got a clean finger around the edge of it. As I said before, foam latex does want to hold on to the surface of it, and it does do. This will help it release a little bit. All right, good shake. So on there, look, it does say use 150 grams per batch. You can use far more than that. You could use double that if you wanted to mix a lot of it.
Yeah.
Don't mix less than it. For whatever reason, it's difficult to mix a small batch of it. It just does not want to mix. It doesn't want to get to the bottom of it. It just doesn't want to mix it. So that's the minimum I'd say you do.
Okay.
So my...
What's your recommendation, Steve?
Well, my tried and tested way of doing this are, you go to speed 5 for a dense foam for 2 minutes. Yeah. Okay. It'll expand a little bit in volume. Then so you'll go from 5, then you'll go down to 2 for 8 minutes.
Okay.
And this sounds very specific. Then you go down to 1 for 5 minutes, and all this is doing is just refining it. So initially you put lots of air into it, going down through the numbers, you're just getting rid of those air bubbles as you're going along bit by bit. Okay, so by the time then you've done an 8 on 2, you've done 1 on that, and then you put it on minimum. And when you get to minimum, it's when your gel goes in. Only at the very end, and it just goes in for a minute. Okay. Right. 150 grams of that one, I went 30 of that one, and 15 of this one. Yeah? Them all were weighed out and they went all in together. And whilst that's, I mean, unless you start mixing that, that's not really going to do an awful lot. Okay? Then we've got speed 5 for 2 minutes for a dense foam. Speed 5 for 3 minutes would generate what I call a soft foam. So there's only like a minute difference of mixing at high speed, but it creates quite a different foam that. Okay. Yeah? So 5 for 2 minutes for a dense foam, down to 2 minutes for speed 2 for 8 minutes, then down to speed 1 for 5 minutes.
And then minimum.
And go to minimum. We throw that in, I'll show you that in a minute. And then once that